So this is the video on 3-4. I'm combining lessons 3-3 and 3-4 together. So this is a continuation. We're solving for inequalities. The process of doing this is the same as if it's an equality. The process is the exact same. So I want to solve for my variable, so I'm going to circle out the term that contains the variable, and I'm going to deal with that last. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. I'm going to divide both sides by a positive 4, so there's no sign flippage. And there's my answer. So go ahead and work out these on your own, and after you see the answer, make sure you understand. If you got it wrong, make sure you understand what you did wrong, and then pause the video and rework the problem. Okay, so I want to deal with the term that has the variable last, so I'm going to start by adding 7 to both sides. Now I'm going to divide both sides by -6. I'm going to go ahead and flip my sign before I forget. And there's my answer. Here, I want to deal with the term that has the variable last, so I'm going to start by subtracting 5 from both sides because that's a positive 5. I want to do my keep, change, change, so I don't make a silly math error. I'm going to divide both sides by -3, so I'm going to go ahead and flip the sign now before I forget. And now I want to rewrite it in appropriate form. And don't mess up when you rewrite. If the alligator is eating the 3 here, the alligator has to be eating the 3 on the rewrite. Okay, and the last one, I'm going to start by subtracting 30 from both sides. Now I'm going to divide both sides by a positive 0.8, so I don't need to flip the sign. $25. I want to rewrite it and put it in appropriate form. Don't mess up. If the alligator is eating the 25, the alligator has to be eating the 25 on the rewrite. Okay. Using the distributive property, the process is going to remain the same. The first thing I need to do is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply the 3 into each term there. So that becomes 3t plus 3. Now I want to combine everything that's on the same side of the inequality symbol. 3t combined with a -4t is -1t. Cross it off so you don't lose track. Subtract 3 from both sides. Do the keep, change so you don't mess up. Keep, change is -8. Now I want to multiply both sides by -1 because I don't want to know what -t is. I want to know what positive t is. So then I'm going to flip the sign. So if -t is greater than -8, you know positive t is less than or equal to, positive 8. Okay, go ahead and hit pause and work out this next one. Okay, so order of operations. I want to start with multiplication. So what do I start? I want to start by distributing out a -2. And it's a -2 I'm distributing. Now what am I doing? I want to combine everything that's on one side of the inequality symbol. Do you see how the process is the exact same as you've been doing? Now I want to add 9 to both sides. Divide both sides by -8. Since I'm dividing both sides by a negative, I'm going to flip the sign. Now I want to rewrite it to put it in appropriate form. If the alligator is eating the -3 over here, the alligator has to be eating the -3 over there. Now please make sure you're showing all your work. If you were to do this on lined paper, let's think about how much space this should take you. Assuming, which you should do, every time you start a new process, start a new operation, start a new step, you skip a line, which you should do so you learn how to read your own handwriting. Assuming you skip a line, let's think about how many lines this whole thing should take, including writing the original problem down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 lines. If you are doing your homework and on a problem like this, you do not use at least 14 lines on your notebook paper, you have to question whether you're writing it out step by step by step. If you are making simple math mistakes, then you need to check yourself and say, am I using 14 lines? Because if not, you're more likely to make a mistake. There's no shortage of paper. I will get you more if you need it. It's okay. All right, ready? Solving an inequality with variables on both sides. Again, the process is the exact same. I'm going to subtract 3n from both sides. Now I'm going to add 1. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. There's no sign flippage because I did not divide by a negative number. Again, how many lines should this have taken me? 1, 2, 3, 4, because we always want to skip a line in between operations that you're doing. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This should take you 12 lines if you're doing it step by step by step and showing all your work so you don't make sense or make a mistake. Okay, go ahead and hit pause and work out this on your own. Okay, where am I going to start? I mean, there's a couple different ways you can start. I think probably the easiest would be to add 2b to both sides, but you could have done something else and you would have gotten the same thing, hopefully. Subtract 12. Do you notice how I always rewrite what I have left before I go on to the next step, so I don't lose track of what I'm doing? And again, there was no sign flippage because we did not divide by a negative number. Okay, last example. Let's go ahead and solve this. Let's simplify everything that's on one side of the inequality symbol. So that means I want to distribute my 2. Now, don't just stop there, because when you're dealing with inequalities, you got to be a little bit more careful. Don't just stop there. So let's go ahead and remove my variable by adding 8a to both sides. And when I do so, I get 10 is greater than or equal to 10. That is true. So therefore, this equation is going to be true for all real numbers. And remember, we have to say all real numbers because remember, there's a different subset of numbers called imaginary numbers, which we'll learn about later. But when your variable disappears, if you're left with a true statement, that means for any value of the variable, this equation is going to be true. And the reason I want you to keep going and not just stop and read it, like with the equality symbols, you can stop and you could probably see it right there. But be careful, because for example, if this was 10 is greater than 10, that would be false. But what makes this true is it says 10 is greater than or equal to 10, so it's true. Okay, this one, 6m minus 5 is greater than 6m plus 7. You may be able to see it right away, but just be careful because that greater than or less than sign makes it a little bit more complicated. Just take the extra few steps to work it out, remove the variable, and see what you're left with. Don't try to do this one in your head. Work it all the way out. Now what are we left with? Negative 5 is greater than 7. No, that's not true. And so you would say there's no solution. In other words, there's no value of the variable that would ever make this equation true. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause and work out these on your own. Okay, here, let's go ahead and work it out. These will cancel, or these will disappear. Once we subtract 5n from both sides, we're left with 9 is less than or equal to negative 1, which is clearly not true, so you would say there's no solution. And here, remember, we have to combine everything that's on the same side of the inequality symbol first. And so then let's go ahead and just remove the variable, just so we can see it more clearly. 8 is greater than or equal to 2. That is true. So you can say that there's an infinite number of solutions, or you can say this is true for all real numbers. Any variable, this equation is true for any value of my variable. It is true. Okay, so now you can go ahead and stop the video, do your homework, and email me if you have any questions.